So what are you up to today, Bill?
Oh well, the camera crew was sleeping, the track crew kept working.
Yeah.
And right now I have all the bench work set in. And I've now installed the risers for the first part of the branch coming in towards the Grandview Mill. So what I'm trying to do right now is just get the bridge across here. So I want a bridge across here.
Yeah.
Because this will eventually get cut out when I put the bridge in. But in order to get the track lined up right, you carry the laminate right across, right through down to the opposite end. That way you get a nice, even, steady curve all the way through. Once that's done, you just cut it out, put the bridge in, and away you go.
Can you talk a little bit about your construction here of your roadbed and the idea of using spline and so on and so forth?
Well, I've been using spline ever since the beginning. I first learned that at Tommy Hood's place. He used spline on his railroad. And what you get is you get 4 pieces of, in this case, this is rough 1x12 pine.
Yeah.
That I've ripped down into strips about 1/4 inch wide. And 4 of these across, glued together and glued to the risers, will give me my roadbed.
I see.
It does 2 things. It becomes a very firm, very solid roadbed, and it also adds strength to the layout because it's all glued together.
Well, that's interesting. I haven't seen that technique used in a long time.
No, I use it all the time.
Yeah. So you just rip it on the saw outside to get the length you want?
I take it over to Tom's. He's got a bigger saw than I do.
Yeah. What sort of lumber do you start with then before you cut her down?
Well, I can get 1x12 pine for next to nothing.
Sure.
At one of the lumber yards.
Yeah.
If you buy finished product, you're paying a lot of money for nothing.
Right.
So as you can see, this is pretty coarse on this side.
Right.
Because it's unplaned.
Yeah.
Alright, but all I want is this side. Once I nail it down, I plane this off and clean it up and lay my ties right on top.
Okay, so that's how you, when it's all laminated together, it forms a solid surface on the top that you glue your ties right to.
That's correct. And then you just plane it off and then put your glue down, lay your ties right on top.
Okay.
And it makes a very strong, firm roadbed.
Well, as we go along today, maybe we'll see some of that.
Well, I hope to. I just got to get across the bridge here.
Okay, go to work then. Don't let me stop you.
Bossy.
Oh, well, crack the whip.
Now this one I want fairly solid because it's going to support the end of the bridge. So I want it right where my track is going. Oops. Didn't want it that way though. Now, as you can see here, I've put pencil lines all across here. When I ran the spline across, I came in with my square so I could get the line right where I wanted it.
Right.
Alright, so this is the center of my track going across the bridge. Now I have this guy here, which I'd like to stick about there.
Do you want me to hold that in place while you're underneath there?
Yeah, it might be a good idea.
Okay.
Let's see if I can find it.
It's right where it was.
Good. I ain't. You ready?
Yeah.
Did I get it?
Yeah, it feels like it. Felt something twisting there. Guess what? You just missed it by a bit. So now I know where it is. You can just back it off and I'll...
Okay. I just pulled my drill bit.
Oh, well. I'll give this a couple of turns here, just to get it started. There.
Okay?
Yeah, sure.
You got it right there?
Yeah, I got it. You got it in now.
Okay, now that's only temporary.
Yeah, I understand that, yeah. So the idea here is that you just want to get your bridge work across on the right angle.
Yep.
And then once it's there, then eventually you'll start putting in your what style of bridge are you going to put in here?
It's going to be a wood trestle.
A wood trestle style, so then you'll put your trestle in and remove the old part, right?
Yeah. So that's the center line.
Yeah. Now doing it this way, by putting something temporary in first and then putting the trestle in, why would you take that approach?
Well, this way I get the track exactly where I want it.
Okay.
And then I just come in and then once I take all of this out, take the roadbed out, then I just install the ties. I'll leave the rail suspended right across.
Okay.
And then just bring the bridge up underneath and attach it.
Oh, I see. So then you'll get a nice, smooth, perfect fit.
Well, it's worked so far.
Yeah, cool.
It's worked so far. All I'm doing now is marking my center line. Hopefully. Oh, somebody put wires there. Dumb bastards.
I guess that makes it so it's specifically a certain number of inches away from the edge of the layout.
Well, I just want to find my center line that I originally drew.
Yeah.
And then I'll use that as my guide for putting in the
spline. Yeah.
And this guy's going to go there. Good.
Now, in a lot of modern layouts, people just typically just stack foam in and then lay right down on that. But I guess this allows you to do a lot more undulation of the
well, this
of the
allows
landform.
me to, any place where the roadbed seems to sag or that, I can just undo the screws and push it up,
Yeah.
pull it down, and that allows me to level off the roadbed.
Oh, okay.
I was going to use foam, but I got a lot of flack.
Yeah?
From the flack department. Okay, so I need some clamps. Hang on.
The flack department, I like that.
The flack department is all my backseat driving friends.
Yeah. Who used to do it this way in 1965, and that's the way it should be done.
Yeah.
There you go. The automobile will never replace the horse. But that's okay.
Sometimes.
This is also scrap wood you've had laying around for years, I guess.
Most of the wood is stuff I've had lying around or have scrounged.
Yeah.
I scrounged a bunch from Bill, and I got a couple of pieces here, there, and everywhere, and stuff lying in the back of the shed. And I want to put these so I don't lose them. Now, what happens next is I come along here, a great piece of laminate. Let's see if I got something better. That's better. Ow. What I want to do is I want to pop a hole in here. Another one in here. And that'll do for now.
So it just sort of lines up everything.
No, what I want to do when I drive the nail in, I don't want the piece of laminate to split on me.
Right. But where you put the drill holes is what I was getting at, or sort of making it line up with the risers?
Yeah, I want them to line up with the risers.
Yeah.
I just take a little bit of glue, white or yellow, doesn't matter.
So this is your center line one that you're setting it on now?
Yep.
So you build from the center out?
Yep. Always build from the center out.
Okay.
Give me my persuader.
So you're tacking that down with what sort of nails?
This is just 1.5 inches or 1.25 inch finishing nail.
Yeah.
What I'll do after is just come back with a nail set and set them in a little deeper.
Right.
Because you got to set them in when you're coming to plane the surfaces, otherwise you'll wreck your plane pretty darn fast.
Yeah. So it looks like you've done this process before.
About 5,000 feet of it. When you consider the amount of roadbed around here,
Yeah.
the main line is 500 feet long, not counting sidings and other facilities like Telluride and that. I've done a lot of this, and I've done a lot of other people's layouts too who want to use the technique. You see, one of these risers is high, you can tell it already.
Just by the way.
Yeah, you can just feel the bump.
The bump there. Either that or your saw didn't saw straight.
Well, I haven't had a beer yet, so it can't be that.
In fact, just looking down the line there, you can sort of see the little humps here and there.
Yeah. Well, that's the nice thing. Now I can just come along with the drill, loosen these off, and
Adjust it.
let them level up. Oh, come on.
So the advantage of drilling that out, I guess, is they don't split, eh?
That's right. The whole idea is not to split the spline. Split the spline. How's that sound?
Very poetic of you, Bill.
You know. Take another
Okay, so now you're putting your second piece in, and I notice that you're neatly overlaps.
Yeah, what I'm doing now is staggering them because
Right.
you try not to get a whole bunch of joints across here.
Yeah.
Otherwise you'll never get a nice curve.
Okay. And
Yeah.
so when you stagger it, how much overlap are you putting on there roughly?
Half of it.
Okay.
Half of it. Depending on how much space you got to play with. Don't worry about the fact that this ends in the middle of nowhere, because
Right.
by the time you bring it on and put another one across here, it's not going anywhere.
I see. And do you glue one to the other as well?
Yep.
So you're going to blob some stuff on there, and wow, that's going to make everything quite solid.
Well, this is what makes it strong,
Yeah.
because it all becomes one big piece.
You never have enough clamps.
Nope. Oh, I used to come home from work at 2 o'clock in the morning and start doing this. Yeah, I can see this guy's down.
You got yourself some dripping going on there too.
Yeah, it's good. The maid will get it.
Yeah. Add some extra strength to the floor.
Yep. I'll do that and I'll drop that thing on my head. You won't have to leave the clamps on too long.
Right.
Once the glue bites, you're okay.
So when you're building up this spline, how many pieces wide does it typically go up by the time you're finished?
You do what you need.
Yeah?
For me, I'm doing 4 wide.
4 wide, okay.
Yeah, that's plenty. Except where I'm doing the siding. Then I got to do a little thinking about that.
Yeah.
But I want to do that out on the back deck where I got a little room to play.
Sure.
And I'm not bashing what's left of my brains. Okay, I need another good one. Okay, Christopher, I'm going to move along here.
Sure.
This one's going to go back here. Okay. Yeah, let her go.
Now the other thing is when you're offsetting these pieces of spline, I noticed you did the drilling again. Does it matter whether they line up perfectly or if there's a small space? Or?
No, that doesn't matter because you're going to plane and sand it all down when you're finished anyway.
Yeah. I guess what I meant was more the flush fit between the first piece, second piece, and third piece, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Do they all, you can have a space in between them?
No, I don't want spaces.
Okay. So you've got that solidly up against the end then?
Yep. I don't want any spaces because all that does is succeeds in weakening the whole structure.
Okay.
And as you can see, any glue will do when you're digging for glue. My persuader. Try not to put too much glue on, you just wind up wasting it, as you've seen.
Mm-hmm.
Never enough clamps and they're never in the right spot. It's always a neat sound too when one of these things breaks. I've had that
You want me to hold that for you?
And I've had that happen more than once. Particularly when you're doing a tight radius curve. If you're going to do really tight radius curves and that, you don't want your spline this thick.
Right. The thinner, the more flexible it'll be.
Yeah. If you make it too thick, it won't bend the way you want it to. But because I'm doing fairly generous curves here, I'm not worried about that.
Whoop. And then catch. Gotta get that nail in there, right? That's just basically a temporarily misplaced screwdriver.
I like these better because they're faster to put on.
Yeah, the others you gotta...
Or these threaded guys, you gotta spin around and jump around, but they also lock tighter.
Yeah.
So where one has one advantage, the other one has another advantage. Okay, I need another spot. push your way, Chris.
Now you get to cut that piece, see?
Okay, I got a saw around here somewhere. Waiting on me. I'll be back in a minute. Oh, this one's a tight one.
So what's really interesting about this is at the end of the day you're going to cut out the piece where the bridge is and put in a completely different system for holding the track.
The thing with this though is it allows me to maintain the curve going across the trestle.
Yeah.
So when it comes to setting in the trestle, once the track is laid, I'll just make a template of where I want the trestle.
Yes.
And take it up to the shop and build it there. And then once the deck is laid out, I'll just take this down, leave the rail suspended in the air, and just lift the trestle up against the bottom of it. It's a bit of an art, or a challenge, or whatever you want to call it. Once I get all the lights in here, this will be a little bit better to work. Now, the other nice thing, of course, there's no waste. There's just pencils hanging on me. Back in the sliders. It's a little shorter than I wanted, but I can push it that way. Finger's good for more than one thing. Oh, that's nasty. Okay. We need this or this. We'll scoot on down here. Well, the old saying, you never have enough clamps. Just steal them wherever you can.
You got one of the larger collections that I've seen.
Actually, I swiped these from a couple of people. Some of them are a little bit big.
So when you got 10 friends that each have got 4 clamps, you've got yourself 40 clamps to work with.
I got all of mine out. I borrowed a bunch from Hood, and hey, what the heck, you go so far and then you stop and
let things dry.
let things dry, and then you come back. We've got 2 laminates now from one end to the other.
Yeah.
So theoretically, if I wanted, I could take it outside the back deck and finish it.
Yes.
But I'll put the other 2 in after we sit here for a couple of minutes. Okay, that's all my usable clamps for now.
And you're not going to use your unusable ones.
Well, I have a couple whole things together for another notch too. So what you see now, I have a rather nice sweeping curve right across this whole thing. Now as this sets up, it'll make it all quite a bit stronger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I gotta go find my nail set now. So that's it. I'm going to get the nails set. I'm going to set these nails when the glue dries a bit.
Roger.